Alright, so today we're going to talk about Rell Seas, and I know that this is mainly a Blox Roots channel, but I actually like Rell Seas, so today we're going to take a look at their second movie, and I haven't really had time to cover it, but I think today would be a perfect time to cover it, because there's really not that much to talk about in Blox Roots. Alright, so here we are. So I would not be turning on the voice because there's a lot of weird stuff that the guy speaking is saying. They're basically doing like a butcher voice kind of thing here. So first and foremost, a feature that I haven't really seen in any Roblox game yet is a lockpick system, and I have seen this already in Skyrim before, but to see it in Roblox is actually just kind of interesting, and I'm actually really interested to see it. And yeah, this is actually pretty interesting, but again, what's the point of a lockpick system? I guess we'll find that out when we're playing the game, okay? So, one of the things that I actually kind of like is there's actually a stealth mechanic. And games like Deep Woken already has this stealth mechanic. The stealth mechanic for Rell Seas is gonna be insane. So, there's really not that many point in having a stealth mechanic for a game that focuses on multiplayer, but the fact that it's there and it's an option is just kind of interesting in my opinion, because you have that option to have stealth when you're fighting against NPCs. So there you go. And then one of the things that I guess they showed us a very early example of PvP here, but apart from PvP, they are going to show us parkour. Okay, right here they're going to show us parkour, and right out of the gate, this is probably the second best parkour system I've ever seen in Roblox, apart from obviously the game Parkour. The game called Parkour probably has better parkour system, but Rell Seas parkour system honestly looks pretty good. Like their parkour system honestly looks pretty insane. And here we're gonna have our first look at a boss. Now the boss is pretty interesting because there's actually a lot of mechanics here that you guys can see, and one of the things that I'm actually super interested in is actually just how many things there are here. So if you go take a look at their UI, the compass is right here. This is the health. I don't know what the blue one is. I think that's a mana. I don't know what this one right here is. I don't know. This one's for parry. But I don't really know what all of these does. But there's one thing that I think we'll say is I think the user interface, there's a lot of, it could get better in my opinion. This is just a criticism of mine, but honestly it looks pretty good. Now the PvP is I think kind of like a mix between Shindo Life and Deep Woken. Okay, so it's gonna have parrying mechanics, and apart from parrying mechanics, it's also going to have combos, so M1 combos. And yeah, it's pretty good. The animations are pretty good. The combat's also pretty, and obviously the bosses are some of the best bosses that we're ever gonna see in a Roblox game. So that I think is one of the things that they're pretty good at. The bosses are just absolutely insane. And then here, alright, so to be honest, one of the things that I actually pretty like as well is just how many events there are going to be. And there's two problems here, okay? So the events, depending on how many events there are, it could be super confusing or it could be super awesome. I think there must be a balance between the number of events and the quality of these events, because again, if they're gonna have like 100 random events that could be happening, it might actually be a little bit too confusing for most people, and it might be a little bit too clunky. Sometimes less is more, guys. Sometimes less is more, but these random events are gonna be insane. They're honestly just gonna be insane. And these random events where there's marines and pirates and this taking place is just gonna be very awesome, especially if you're playing this with friends. I think it's gonna be extra cool. And then the maps as well, it's gonna be even better to explore these maps when the map is actually alive. You know, when you're playing these games, Roblox games, oftentimes the maps are dead. You know, the maps are just random NPCs that you talk to for quests. But in games like Deep Woken and soon Rell Seas, the map is actually alive, right? Whenever you walk around the maps, there's people that you can actually talk to, there's lore, there's stories that some of these NPCs can tell, and I think that's actually very interesting, and that's actually why I love Deep Woken, and that's probably why I will love Rell Seas as well, because the maps and a lot of the stuff about Rell Seas is honestly just pretty cool. So events randomized on certain areas of the map. So certain areas of the map have random events, and in the adventure index you'll be able to see the quality of life of a certain part of the map. So I guess in some certain parts of the map, if the quality of life is good or maybe something like that, then this will dictate whether or not the event will happen there. And then there's also going to be multiple bosses, which again, is what I kind of like. Like, these bosses are gonna be the best ever that Roblox has seen, and that's actually pretty cool. Alright, but the number one problem that I'm gonna have here, and I have played a ton of games. Currently, I'm playing Black Myth Wukong, and one of the things that I'm seeing right here now is the system, and the system right here, this class system right here, every single last one that you're seeing here. I think it's a little bit too clunky, and not clunky, but it's a little bit too bloated. So what I mean by that is I think there's so many stuff, and these stuff are probably not really going to be easy to review, and I think the only way we're ever going to be able to say if it's good or bad is once we've actually tested it, which is why I'm not saying anything. But so far I think I'm starting to appreciate it a little bit more, especially when I'm seeing when I'm not listening to the guy that's, you know, voice overing this, because the guy that's voice overing it is kind of yapping a little bit too much, and he's saying class and stuff like that, blah 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 blah. But just looking at these abilities right here, I am seeing that it's actually going to be perhaps the most insane builds. You're probably going to be able to create the most insane builds in Rell Seas, especially looking at some of these skills here. I think it's just going to be very awesome to actually try it out. I can definitely see how it's going to be good, because from what I'm seeing right here, you're going to start as just a normal guy, as a kind of weak guy, and then you're eventually going to move down into levels, and you're eventually going to increase in levels, and you're not only going to get better stats, right? You're not only going to get stronger strength, you're not only going to get more damage, but you're also going to have more skills and abilities. And right here, they're actually showing right here one of the abilities, such as this one right here. So when you have this ability, you can essentially do this, which is basically throw your enemy to the sky, which I think is actually kind of insane. I think that's actually a pretty good thing that they're doing. I'm very excited to see this finally happen in game and to finally make builds for it. So far, Rell Seas is looking amazing. The number one concern I have right now, again, is bloat. How good will they be able to implement all of these features into the game without, number one, lag, and number two, without it being too pointless? Because sometimes in some games, they add a ton of stuff, the map is big, but there's actually not that many stuff to do, like it's repetitive. Or in some games, this does happen as well, in some games they add a ton of features, but those features are half-baked. You know, there's a lot of games that does that, a lot of bigger games, bigger developers that adds insane features, promises insane features, but they never, you know, make those features good. So hopefully when Rell Seas releases, these features, these tons of features that they're planning on, are not going to be half-baked features that are going to get added into Rell Seas. But so far, Rell Seas is looking actually amazing, and I'll definitely try this game out because I can play it because I have a good computer. Second problem I actually have, or other problem I have, is how good will this game play for people that are on mobile, because it might not play that well for them. Right, so that's gonna be it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.